Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for joining me again on another episode of Get Into It with Gila. I'm Gila Glassberg, and today I have Shani Safir. Hi, Shani.
Hi, Gila. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. So, Shani, you are a massage therapist, which I know, but
Mm-hmm.
for our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about what you do, where you live, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thanks so much. So first of all, I know Gila through her sister Sima.
Summer's great. We love her.
And I love Gila too.
Okay.
I've known you for, like a couple of years.
Yeah, like maybe
No, we're old now. Maybe like 10 years.
we're a little, yeah.
I work as a massage therapist. I'm licensed. I went to school in New York. It's a 2-year program. And primarily I work with women in our community in the 5 towns, greater New York area, like New York City. And I work to help women feel their best, whether it's physically, stress relief, things like that. And I really, really love what I do. I really enjoy what I get to do every day. I learn every year. I take also for my experiences and these continuing education courses. There's really a lot more to it than I ever realized. But my goal primarily was always to give to our community and specifically to the women in our community and really help them live their best life. And this is how I'm doing it.
That's beautiful. That's great. So how did you become interested in massage therapy?
So I was actually always interested in it from a young age, and I got kind of turned off from it. I was told to, don't consider it. I was also at the time thinking of living in Israel. This is when I was young and dumb. Not that it's dumb to live in Israel, but it wasn't in the cards for me at the time. But I was thinking I could live there, and someone was telling me not in this community. I'm a massage therapist, doesn't work for me. So I tabled it, not for me. Went to school, got my bachelor's. Again, in a helping field, I wanted to be a therapist. And then after I got my bachelor's, I became a case manager, and I just saw how I wasn't happy. It wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't, the goal of being a therapist, but the sitting and the interviewing and the talking wasn't fulfilling for me. And I really wasn't sure if I should go back for my master's. I was thinking maybe I would pursue research. That was always fascinating to me. I'm a big chassid of Brene Brown. So all that stuff was very interesting to me. But then again, it's the kind of career that a lot of people in school were saying it's the whispering career. A lot of people they always thought about it. They always appreciated that style of helping, of giving. And there's a lot of people in my school that were in their 50s that this was their second career, that they were I worked in a doctor's office, I worked as a teacher, and now I'm trying this again. It's the kind of thing that whispers to you. So that was definitely it. When I got married, my husband was very supportive of me going back to school, and before I knew it, I was enrolled and starting the journey.
That's awesome. That's also inspirational, just because I also have my own business and my own practice, and I remember I was talking to you about it.
Yeah.
You remember how to use Facebook? Yeah. I still don't really know how to use Facebook, and it's scary when you're doing something it's a little bit off the beaten path, because most from girls, Orthodox girls, are OT, PT, speed.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Yeah, it's also a great career that's flexible. If you work for yourself, or even if you don't, it's not a classic 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. For me, I make my own hours that are really great for me. And for, evening appointments, I make sure they're after bedtime. So yeah, for the classic from woman in her family life, this is perfect, But what was the question that you said?
No, I didn't say a question. I said it's off the beaten path, and it's good as an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah. So about that, actually, in school, I was nervous because I didn't really realize what I was getting myself into 100% until I got there, and I saw that there's a lot of hands-on classes, called practical classes, and there were men in my class. And as an Orthodox woman who practices modesty, I was a little scared to tell my teachers, I won't be able to work on men. I won't be worked on by them. And I I keep laws of modesty to the point where I don't want them to see me uncovered, because we would work on each other like real massages. They were so accommodating.
Wow.
I had, a partition. I also only made sure to have female professors for those classes. But yeah, talk about off the beaten path. They were like setting up like a mechitza for me, and
wow.
I was respectful towards my classmates, and they were so respectful towards me.
Right.
I really couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. It was really great.
I actually had that also when I was in school for nutrition. We had to take like cooking classes in Queens College. I had to take 3 classes. And the first time I took a class, I think I was the only Jewish girl. My professor was like not happy. Yeah, it was really weird. Like she was like, you have to taste the food. I'm like, I literally can't. And then by the second class, there were so many from girls. It was like growing like very fast. And I remember my professor saying, "No, you could eat. We dunked the dishes. Don't worry, we dunked them." I'm like, I still can't eat. But yeah, they were. Yeah, they tried. They did try. So that's that. So I wanted to bring you on actually because I teach intuitive eating. I'm an intuitive eating counselor, and one of like. You love intuitive eating. We've spoken about it, but also one of like the main theme probably of intuitive eating is self-care, and how just to not to knock anyone, but just like when you're on a diet and when you're restricting, or even when you're not restricting but you're off the diet and you're using food to cope. I see this all the time with clients that food, either restricting or overeating, becomes like their only form of self-care. And
wow.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's like the only way they're paying attention to themselves.
Well, if you're not practicing like adequate self-care, I wouldn't even say good, I would say adequate, food could become much more rewarding, because if you're enjoying your food and getting pleasure from it, and it's the only source of pleasure throughout the day, then you'll probably become more food seeking because you're not meeting some other need. I know it's very sad.
It's not like I can't relate. I don't think I ever had an obsession, but I think any woman in any society definitely feels pressure to limit and to withhold and make it a focal point.
Right.
But yeah, so on the topic of self-care, 100%, that fits in 100% to what I do. I was just talking to a client this morning actually about how I ran a giveaway one time, and I said, I want you to nominate someone, because when I wanted to announce the winner, I would say so-and-so won for this person. I said, you can nominate someone, you can nominate yourself. And a lot of people took that to mean like make a plug for yourself of like why this person or why you deserve it. It was a random, I entered all the names into like this, website, but a lot of people thought it was like a good opportunity to like make their case. So many people wrote, I never take care of myself. Like this would be amazing for me. Like, why are you showing off that you don't take care of yourself?
Right.
I think there's like, maybe more so in our community. Maybe we see it more in our community because we're in it, but there's this like ideal of like forgoing your needs. And we tell stories of these martyred women who put themselves last, as if we're supposed to like look up to them and also emulate them, when like if they could accomplish that happily, it's not for us to follow their footsteps for sure.
Right.
As human beings.
Right. I think a lot of women struggle with this, and I know a lot of women struggle with this because I see it in my office all the time. But talk to me about the women who do come to you to get massages. Are they desperate? Have they reached their breaking point? Are they more self-aware? Like, how does that work?
That's a great question. So I'd say it's half and half. Some people come to me and, they think like, oh, I've been pushing this off for years. My body's like this, like, oh, I'm pushing this off for years. Fix it. Like, I have to be honest, it will take, a couple of sessions, and also, stretching. I'll guide them on what they can do at home with, heat and stretching and proper sleeping habits. I have some people that make it. They're like, I know that I work myself too hard. This is my treat once a week, once a month. This is what I do for myself. And then some people come, when it's too late. And then some people also like will start the process of making an appointment and then throw their phone in the river and like never talk to me again. Because it's really, really hard to pull the trigger on taking care of yourself. It's really, really hard. say like, you know, I struggle with it too. There's been times where I'm like, this thing in my neck. My husband's like, make an appointment. And I'm like, I don't know. You know, there's this pressure to just like go and go and go and go. And even me who believes in it so much, we really have to, you know, to me, I look at it like we have to prioritize respecting our bodies. Whether it's the food that we put into it, you know, how and when and what, when we put ourselves to bed at night, and how we take care of our pain as well.
Why do you think women, like, it's so second nature to like push off like basic? I'm not even, massage is like another level. I'm talking about like basic, you know?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like there's so many variables. A lot of it is the self-talk that we give ourselves from what we heard growing up. Not to bring up this, you know, we always bring this up in conversations, but a lot of us are children of traumatized Holocaust survivor, children of, you know, like we're the grandchildren of people that were raised by people who were severely traumatized. So they, in many ways, did not know how to give over healthy messages.
Right.
They didn't have normal childhoods. They had traumatizing childhoods, and I feel like, I don't know, a lot of our priorities got mixed up there. But also I think that kind of in the schooling system, especially like in the Beis Yaakov schooling system, there is this like push to look at these women who like gave everything for their family and never, you know, they would prepare food for their family and they'd forget to eat and they'd faint and it was so holy. Like, obviously never happened, but like things like that are really like put on a pedestal that, to me, you know, I think it's important maybe if we're going to talk about people like that to say like, and that was because they were built differently. And, you know, we're going to say, wow, that was special for them, but we have to understand that we need to act like human beings and be real with ourselves.
Yeah, I actually want to say something on this for like listeners, because I think that it's like, I'm always so like, I always feel so torn about this because like on the one hand, like, you know, you come straight out of seminary and you hear a lot of these messages like be about there, give, and I don't think there's anything, but I don't think there's anything wrong inherently in wanting to do chesed, wanting to be mevater. I just think that we maybe are missing one point where like there's a big part of like getting to know yourself and getting to know your limits. And if you can give, it's
temperament, knowing what your personality needs to thrive and what your personality gains from giving. Like, what's your love language? How do you give? How do you receive?
Totally.
So, absolutely.
I always talk about that with my clients, actually. Like, I actually did a podcast episode, I think by myself, that was about choices. And I realized that, like, through a bunch of, like, different books and I guess therapeutic modalities, like the 5 love languages and the 4 tendencies, I read that book by Gretchen Rubin, and Awareness by Miriam Adahan. Like, if you don't.
The Enneagram is like, I have it on my coffee table. I read it every Shabbos.
Really?
I love it. I love it.
My sister, I have another sister who's like that. She's like, oh, you're such a 4. Like, and anyone's talking there, she's like, oh, she's a 2. I'm like, you're hysterical. You think everyone, like, she thinks in terms of numbers. It's really funny. But it's important, like, if you know like your tendency or like your personality type or whatever, like sometimes giving like fuels you. Like, it really like it like empowers you, and sometimes it drains you, or certain people drain you. And like I just don't think that's what Hashem wants, for you to. You know, I think when I talk to clients a lot about like boundaries as a form of self-care, they're like, I can never do it. It's so mean. I'm like, but they're being mean to you. Like they're, you know, like it's okay. Like I think the permission, like, and I think also just on the topic of massage, it's like funny how like for a while it was like in social media, self-care. And now everyone's like, it doesn't have to just be massages. It doesn't have to just be bubble baths. But like, I kind of want you to talk to the listeners about like how massage, maybe you don't have to do it every week or every month, but what does it like do for someone's body and like their stress level and like what's going on in their body that they need this type of touch, let's say?
Great question. Okay, so multiple answers. Number one is we talked about love languages. So one thing I think for a lot of people, their love language or one of their love languages is physical touch. It doesn't need to be intimate and it doesn't need to be romantic.
Right.
But one form of self-care that you can love yourself with is by receiving touch.
Right.
in a healthy, safe environment. And I think for me, myself, receiving a massage sometimes especially like when I need it, helps me feel more like me. I walk out, I feel like I'm reset, and I know a lot of people when they walk out, I always ask them, like, so how do you feel? And they'll say, I feel like a new woman.
So cute.
Really, it has that ability to just like give you a nice reset. And the other thing is that I feel like it's so important to create that environment. It's not just muscle manipulation. To me, it's, the big picture. I want to give someone that quiet space to really just like kind of zone out, but zen in a zen way. I want them to feel safe. I want them to feel comfortable, non-judged. A lot of people say like, oh, I'm so sorry, this about my body. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry my shoulders are tight.
Right.
I'm here for you, right? You're not here for me.
Right. Right.
This is a completely client-based type of environment. And yeah, it can really change someone's entire body perspective, I think, also, because I think also, some people say like you gain self-esteem by doing things that create esteem.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I feel like this is an act of self-respect. You respect your body. This is a way of taking care of your body, of feeling, physical pleasure, and it's healthy, and it's promoting, all these healthy things in your body, and it's just like a way to give respect to yourself.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's still the answer to your question.
No, that's great. No, it's great. I was gonna say that in my practice, so many people struggle with their bodies, and I don't just mean like body image. I mean like embodying their bodies. Like they maybe sometimes when they're eating they disassociate. There's many reasons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I remember Rena Reiser. She's also an intuitive eating counselor. She's like, when we were talking about this one, she's like, gentle dance or yoga could really help you embody your body. And I've been doing a lot of like research on this, and it's really, really interesting that like certain things like intuitive eating, let's say counseling, is very it's like talk therapy, but like other types of things are like experiential, like you're literally feeling something in your body, and you can't compare that to like having a conversation with someone. So like even massage is a way to feel your body or feel good in your body in a safe way, like you said, even in a non-intimate way. It's just physical touch. And I want to say one more thing. I took a parenting class this year by Sima Spetner.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
She said that when you're with your children, when they're home, they need to be touched by you. I think she said once every hour or something like that.
Wow.
Just like rub their back, hold their hand, squeeze their finger. And she said something really funny that I wanted to say on the podcast. I just never fit in. She said like, if you take something from your child and you just squeeze their finger a little to show that you're like touching them, that can even do the trick. And she's like, so many women tell me like, squeeze their finger, like they won't even notice. And she's like, if some man comes to your house and drops off a package and he hands you something and then he squeezes your finger, you will definitely notice if he squeezes your finger, right?
Not someone's mother, but okay.
No, but let's say, but she's just saying that like even a small thing could like it is different,
Right. Wow. And she was saying that helps with the transition of like you taking like something out of their hands.
No, she was saying that for baseline, like well-being for a child, she gave a bunch of different things.
Well, like if they're handing something to you, even just a squeeze of a finger can give them that tactile feeling.
Right, because like even my own therapist, we were talking about this once because she said she went to like a Nefesh conference, which is some big conference for therapists in the frum community, and she was saying that that there's so much talk in our community about like unsafe touch and like teaching our children about unsafe touch that we're kind of traumatizing the kids about what about safe touch, and what about when people get married and they're touched, and what about all of this, right?
Yes. By the way, just to circle back, you mentioned boundaries, one of my favorite topics. Fascinated by it. There's an excellent book that someone recommended to me that I literally like keep lending out, and I have to buy new ones. I don't know who has my copies. There's a book called Where to Draw the Line. It is fascinating. It is so great. It's practical. it just gives you clarity. Like everyone that I lent it to said that it woke them up to say like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's supportive and empowering, all good things. So
Who wrote
highly
it?
recommend
You know who wrote it?
I think her name is Anne Catherine or Mary Catherine.
Okay, we'll get the name and I'll put it in the show notes if people want to.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Oh, great the line. It's so good. My friend Jenna recommended it, and I haven't stopped recommending it since. So that's really good. And yeah, knowing also, like you were saying, like knowing your number, knowing what your body needs.
Right.
You know, some people ask me like, what do you recommend? Do you recommend 45 minutes or an hour and a half? And I say it's really what you tolerate. It's really, you know, also your budget. It's also your time availability. It's really what you think you need. Obviously, I think the more time, the better. I can accomplish more. You know, you don't have to come back as quickly.
Right.
I can accomplish more in an hour and a half, especially if you want a full body experience. But some people, like at the end of the massage, they're like, oh yeah, and I have this like horrible pain. Like they're so not in touch with their bodies. Or sometimes there could be so much going on that, oh, I forgot to mention also that. But, you know, it's hard for us to be in touch with our bodies and to know like what we need. And I love what you said about good touch. It's so important to also promote the healthy aspect of it, because it's like neutral and evil. Well, what about positive? What about holy? What about special? What about feels good?
Right.
Enjoyable.
Right. So that's actually what you're talking about with like getting to know your body is very much in line with like intuitive eating, because with intuitive eating, we learn like where we feel hunger in our body and what ravenous hunger feels like versus regular hunger, and what fullness feels like versus stuffed. And with diet culture, we don't like really learn that. It's just like eat this at this time and that's it. And it's really important to get to know your body, because otherwise you can't give your body what it needs if you don't know what it needs.
Mm-hmm. I used to have a friend who works so hard, and I used to come in, did you eat yet? She's like, no, it's okay. And I'd like bring her half my lunch. I'd be like, you sit down right now.
Right. Totally.
And she's like, thank you for feeding me. Now she moved, so someone else has to feed her. But
yeah, I've actually tell my clients like, you could eat before your kids. It's okay. And they're like, no, I can't. I'm like, I'm telling you, tell your kids mommy is going to be a better mommy if she eats before them. And they get it. They totally get it. And they learn also from us, like how we take care of ourselves is how they learn to take care of themselves.
Yes, they do. 100%. Best. They learn the most through osmosis, through seeing our example.
Right.
Also, I'm sure you know this very well. I'm sure you've talked about this, how we talk about our bodies.
Definitely.
You know, I am not expecting, but my daughter would love to have a baby. She's 3.5. Her friends have babies. She wants her baby sister already. And she knows that when the tummy is big, that's when, right, there's a baby in the tummy.
Right.
So for people, I know that people who have a lot of body image issues will be like very insulted if someone thinks that they're expecting and they're not.
Right.
I know what my body looks like. I know that sometimes I put on weight in my gut. And thank God, like I'm for the most part like very at peace with it. I also exercise, like, you know, to try to be in shape. I try not to restrict my diet to the point where like I'm unhappy. I really like food. I really like food. I love cooking. I love going out. But anyway, my daughter said to me yesterday, she's like, Mommy, I think I see your tummy's getting a lot bigger. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Actually, you know, sometimes daddy's tummies are bigger. Sometimes mommy's tummies are bigger too. Just means I had a really good lunch.
Right. I love that. It's really important.
And I didn't take her like, we don't talk about bodies like that, you know, like
right.
shame her for making an innocent, you know,